My wife Christie and I just wrapped up 80 miles of trekking through the Peruvian Andes across 2 different treks. And with us, despite the fact that I've been here for 2 weeks, I'm still catching my breath and struggling with the serious altitude here. My wife Christie and I just completed 2 treks in the Andes, completing about 80 miles of hiking through some of the most spectacular terrain on Earth. So I thought I'd bring you along with the gear that I packed for this trip, how it performed. All right, we're gonna finish this trip up back in my garage. Hello, my friends. Christie and I are freshly back from Peru. Honestly, it was just an amazing time. We took with us a bunch of gear, and I want to let you know how it performed. So first off, international trekking is kind of a unique endeavor, and that it's not exactly like regular backpacking. However, there are a lot of crossovers and a lot of similarities. And Christie and I could have gone fully supported from guides and tour operators in the country, but we elected to bring a lot of our own gear to get in a lot of our own testing. The first piece of gear that I want to talk to you about is the tent that we brought. Trekking pole tent. By the way, there is a fly in here with me today, and I don't know how to get rid of it. It has been elusive. The Outdoor Vitals Fortius 2-person tent, which honestly was a really interesting tent that had both a lot of pros and some significant cons. Let's talk about what those cons and pros are. So the Fortius 2-person tent is honestly a really nice tent for the weight and for the price. This tent is just a hair over 2 pounds at 2 pounds 2 ounces, and I think that that's pretty phenomenal. It is a very light, very compact tent. You can compress this down even a little bit further. It's a nylon tent. I really like the price point and the weight. So if you're looking to get an ultralight style tent without having to spend a huge amount of money, this is a very good tent that can perform well. Now, where did it exceed? This tent was actually great for the interior living space. It has a lot of headroom. It has a lot of side-to-side headroom as well. It's kind of boxy. So for Christie and I, as we shared the space, it was honestly nice and spacious with a lot of really good interior living room. I really like the vestibules. I really love how easy it is to set up. It is an extremely simple setup. And unlike some of my other tents, like the Durst and X-Mid Pro, which I find to be a little bit finicky, this one is simple to get a very nice taut pitch. I actually had very little times that I needed to either reset my anchors or really figure out angles because it just worked so well, and there was a lot more forgiveness in the setup to get the pitch angles right. Now, the absolute downside, the worst thing about this tent was the moisture management. Like any single wall tent is going to get wet with dew. Where we were in Peru, it was exceptionally dewy, the most dewy place I've ever backpacked. Every night that we were in this tent, it would become phenomenally wet inside. And that was honestly a big drawback and disappointment for me. I did not appreciate the difficulty level in keeping things dry inside a tent like this. It was inevitable that water would just start dripping off the interior of the tent. You'd get up, you'd kind of move your head and brush your head on the sidewalls, and water would just come raining down. That is an issue with single wall tents, not specifically the Fortius Outdoor Vitals tent. But just so you know, if you're going to be using a tent like this in mountain conditions where it's prone to dew, it's going to be quite wet inside. Now for desert hiking and stuff like that, I think this will perform amazingly well. And I think it's a great tent, especially at the price point. I do want to give a caveat for this video. I've marked this video as sponsored content, even though this is not, in my opinion, not actually truly sponsored content. But I did some work for Outdoor Vitals and Grail, which will show up later, on my Peru trip. So they did provide me with some funding and some gear for the Peru trip. And so I could see how that could be determined as it biases my opinion and it becomes sponsored content. However, this is genuinely just me trying to be as authentic and honest as possible with the gear talk here in this video. I don't want people to feel duped. And that's the situation here. So on we go. The next item that I have is the Zenbivy Flex mattress. And this is one of Zenbivy's new items that they've rolled out this year. And this was the first opportunity that I had to truly give it a real go. I've been using the ultralight mattress and have been very impressed with it. And it was really nice to finally get the Flex mattress in on some rigorous testing. And honestly, I really enjoyed it. It is a slightly heavier mattress than the new Ultralight, but it is still a good bit smaller and less bulky than the older Light Bed, or the Light Mattress, which is also one of my old favorites. And we also took this because it's Christie's favorite mattress. You can see that there is some size savings as well as some weight savings between this two. And the main thing is this is an R5R mattress. This is R4.8. It is very comparable in the R value comparisons, essentially the same, but it's smaller, and I think it is equally as comfortable as the Light mattress. Son of a gun. This mattress has a 4-way stretch surface, which is very pleasant, very comfortable to sleep on. It is a little bit more of a comfort-focused mattress than the ultralight version, even though the fabric is a slightly more pleasant fabric and it has a little bit more give that I did appreciate. I think just all things considered, I would go and prefer, honestly, to opt for the lighter, more slender mattress moving forward. That being said, this is the old mattress, the Light Bed or the Light Mattress from Zenbivy. While it's bulky, it is still, I think, the most comfortable mattress on the market, which is why Christie was a big fan. Christie used the Zenbivy Light Bed, the Zenbivy Ultralight Bed, and honestly, I'll let her speak to it, but I think that she really rather enjoyed it a lot. But we'll bring in her for an opinion here shortly. Meanwhile, I was using the Outdoor Vitals Summit 15 sleeping bag. And this is much more of a true mummy bag. I actually was pretty impressed with it, with some caveats. Let me pull it out here. All right, so there are a couple of things that make this mummy bag feel unique to me from other mummy bags. And I think the main thing is just the position of the zipper. As it's laying flat on its back, the zipper is actually straight down the middle on the top. That is kind of unique. A lot of the bags have either a left zipper or a right zipper somewhere on the side. I thought that I was gonna not enjoy that. However, I actually did think that was, all things considered, a really nice place to put the zipper. And one of my biggest concerns was that the zipper was going to be like at my chin and that it was going to cause problems. But one of the main things that they've done to combat that is with these very generous flaps that come in here that are kind of like draft collars. And these are, I think this is my favorite little add-in that makes their sleeping bag different than other traditional mummy bags. These are so useful and helpful. They add a massive amount of comfort and warmth. So you can really kind of use these to tie off and close off any sort of ventilation escapes that you don't want for cold nights. As well as the other thing is you can really just kind of have these flip up onto your face. A normal mummy bag, you can only keep your face and cheeks and nose warm if you really cinch it tight. However, with this, you can just casually flip this up onto your cheeks and it provides a lot of warmth and comfort to your face on cold nights. And we did have some cold nights out there. It regularly got below freezing on us up high in the mountains. Not dramatically so, but I would say it was regularly down to about 29 or 30 degrees. And for a 15-degree bag, that's often where you start to see and feel that cold creep come in. However, that never happened with me with the sleeping bag. The other thing that I talked about with the Fortius two-person tent is it was very, very wet. And by morning, the top of this sleeping bag would often just be coated in water. It is a very water-resilient sleeping bag. It showed no signs of clumping, of being cold, of developing those cold spots. And despite the fact that it was rather cold and kind of on that fringe for the typical comfort rating, I was perfectly warm, actually excessively warm on all of those nights, and never really needed to fully close up and just fully dive into this because it was, honestly, I felt like it slept warmer than its 15-degree rating. One other thing to note is if you are a larger person, this is a 6-foot sleeping bag, and I am, generally speaking, just a hair under 6 feet tall. I felt like I was maxing this out. If I was even half an inch or an inch taller, I would have wanted the long instead of the regular. And typically that cutoff is around 6'3", 6'4". At the price point, I feel like this is a good mid-range quality sleeping bag. I've been using a lot of ultra premium, ultra expensive stuff like the $1,000 Zenbivy. And yeah, I prefer that setup. I prefer it. It's more comfortable. It's more plush. It's more bougie. You're also spending $700 more on it. I feel like it's a good in the middle of the market sleeping bag, and I really actually found it to be very enjoyable and would recommend it for somebody who's looking for a non-super expensive option for a good quality 15-degree sleeping bag. So I backpacked with the CS40 from Outdoor Vitals. This was my first time getting some true rugged use out of this backpack. And honestly, this has found a soft spot in my heart. Outdoor Vitals has done a really good job with this back panel. This is a very simple backpack. It's like ultralight style. It's a very lightweight backpack. It's just got the top roll top. It is essentially a glorified tube, but it is a very comfortable backpack. And I have a hard time with some of these ultralight backpacks. They just haven't always felt that comfortable to me. But this one has been really nice. My favorite things about it are the fabric. It rained quite a bit on us, and I actually didn't, for a lot of the trips, I didn't have very good waterproofing on its own inside. So they're such as plastic bags or dry bags or other things. And I was pleased. It's not a waterproof backpack, but I was pleased with how much water resistance and resilience it did actually have. If you're going to be backpacking in extremely wet environments, I do recommend having something on the inside to line it, but without it, with quite a bit of rain, it actually held up nicely. I love this outside dump pocket that's very stretchy. You can actually get quite a bit of stuff in there. I did have a tendency to kind of make it a bit of a junk show because it's the most convenient place to just add extra stuff. And that can get a little bit dangerous, but that's really only saying that it can hold quite a bit in this back mesh. And if you're not careful, it'll become a junk show. And I kind of made it a bit of a junk show. I also do really like the simplicity of these compression straps on the side. I often backpack with trekking poles and a tripod kind of stashed on the side here. And this is very easy and very intuitive to get your stuff in and out. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't a pain in the butt. But the best thing is just this back panel. This U-shaped panel actually provides quite a bit of structure and comfort, which is kind of rare for a backpack of the ultralight nature. And it held up great. I had good ventilation. I wasn't overly sweaty, and it always felt comfortable. Now, I typically carried about 24, 25 pounds in it, so it wasn't super heavy. But that is kind of around the weight that you should be carrying or less in a backpack like this. I love these side pockets. I love that it's got hip belt pockets. Just overall, a very comfortable backpack. This is a little bit of a pricier backpack. It's one of the pricier items that Outdoor Vitals offers. This is a $330 backpack. If I had the choice between this or a kind of comparable backpack from Durston, the Kakwa, which is a slightly larger pack at 50 liters, this is, in my opinion, the more comfortable backpack. Now, obviously, with the Durston, I can fit a little bit more, so I might use it more frequently because I tend to overpack. But between the two, just pure side-by-side, which do I prefer more? Which do I think is more comfortable? Honestly, the CS40, in my opinion, wins. Okay, a few other pieces of gear. We're getting a little bit long-winded here, but this, you've seen it before from me if you've been watching my videos, but this is the Nemo Moonlight Elite camp chair. We brought this because Christie, again, with her back issues, we really wanted to have her have an option to sit down at the end of each day on the trail. And between this and the Helinox Chair Zero, to me, it's a toss-up on comfort. I do really like the style. I think this is a more fun design. The ability to change your recline position and your upright position, I really, really like. Although from just a pure overall comfort, I would say that the Chair Zero ekes out the comfort of the Moonlight Elite, but both are stinking cool chairs. And the funniest thing to me was how much the locals were really intrigued by this chair. They'd never seen anything like it.
¿Te gusta la silla?
Mucho, mucho.
Yeah.
Muy bonito.
And if you can think about it, most backpackers here in North America haven't seen anything like it. And so when you go to the remote Andes, of course, it's going to draw some attention. Basically, for the sleep system, Christie was using Zenbivy, I was using Outdoor Vitals. And so I did want to talk about the two different pillows that we had. This is the new pillow system from Zenbivi, and it's actually this combo. So it has both an air bladder and a down topper, and you can really just see how tall this is compared to kind of a standard pillow that most people are going to get. In my opinion, the Zenbivi pillow is basically, I think, one of the best things that you can add on. I think this is in $75 or $80 pillow, so it is an expensive pillow, but it's a premium pillow. It really adds in a ton of comfort. And the Outdoor Vitals pillow is a more economical pillow, but still actually very enjoyable. So the main thing that I think is really cool about the new Outdoor Vitals pillow is these little dots. And I think they're maybe like silicone. And what this does is it really keeps it in place. So it doesn't just slide around on your air mattress. So you can have it not in the hood of your sleeping bag, and it will, for the most part, stay put. Now, it's not going to stay put as well as something that's physically connected with either a strap or Velcro or something like that, but this does actually have a reasonable ability to mostly stay on your mattress when you're sleeping on it. And for the price, I think it's like a $30 pillow. It obviously is worth it over not bringing a pillow, in my opinion. But if you're just doing an apples to apples comparison of overall comfort, the Zenbivi does win, in my opinion. But of course, you pay over double of the cost to get that extra bit of comfort. So my wife Christie was coming on this trip. I know that she really values sleep. So that was one of the main reasons why I was like, we're not compromising. You're going to sleep great, and I'm going to give you the best that I can provide, which is the Zenbivi sleep system. This one, honestly, very serviceable, good quality, good cost, and it's a comfortable pillow. So they both have their merits. Water filtration is a big deal when it comes to international travel and trekking. And so I took the new Grail titanium filter, water purifier, because it is a purifier, not a filter. This is the titanium version of their GeoPress. I think the GeoPress is honestly just a great model and about $90. It's dead simple, and it's actually just the tiniest bit lighter than the titanium version, if you can believe it. If you just say which is better, which do you like more, which would you choose? I would choose the titanium version over the plastic GeoPress version. However, this is a little bit more than double the price at about $200. For international travel, viruses are a concern. And so just having like a Katadyn Be Free or a Sawyer Squeeze, these aren't going to necessarily treat viruses. In fact, they won't treat viruses. They are filters, not purifiers. And that's where the Grail system really is the best thing that I know of for international travel. I use this for filling up from the hotels, from airport bathrooms, from bus station bathrooms. I could get water and just have good, clean drinking water all along the way without needing to buy any sort of plastic water bottle that I would then be throwing away or adding into a quote-unquote recycling program, which kind of in a lot of these countries doesn't necessarily exist. Obviously, if you're a core backpacker, there are some lighter, more inexpensive ways to get clean water. But for international travel, this is as good as it gets. I stand behind it. I genuinely think it's a great product. But if you're going to compare, do you need to spend the $200 for the titanium version, or is the $90 plastic GeoPress version great? Honestly, I'd probably steer you towards the GeoPress, the regular, traditional, cheaper version of it. But the other thing that you can do with these filters is use them as a cook pot. If you've got contaminated water in here, you're going to need to use it and boil it first. But that is the idea, is that with the titanium version, this can actually eliminate the use or the need of a whole other pot. So you can have dual purpose, purifier, and cook pot all in one. I found it to be a little bit, not the most efficient. It's not quite as wide as I would recommend for somebody who's really wants to boil water. It's just too narrow for, in my opinion, efficient boiling. But it's certainly cool that you can have a 2-in-1 system, water filter, water purifier, and a cook pot. I definitely think it's a cool product. I just wish it wasn't $200. I do want to give a shout out to Pinnacle. They are my favorite food producer, and they sent me a bunch of food, and we took it to Peru so that we didn't have to do a bunch of like local grocery shopping and getting kind of just like local beans and rice. And I eat a lot of Pinnacle, and it's the best backpacking food I've used. Camp cups, doodads. This rehydration bag from Big Sky International actually came in very handy when you're camping and cooking at 15,000, 16,000 feet. You really do need one of these to rehydrate your food. If you are doing high altitude cooking, getting a rehydrator bag that you can throw your boiling water in, put it in here, it will really help, and honestly, it made a big difference for us on the trail. Camp stoves, we just used the Grail, which is, I believe, a white label version of the BRS stove, the BRS 3000. We did a 4-day trip with one canister of fuel up over 15,000, where we were like averaging over 14,000 feet. So this thing is actually, it's very efficient. I like the stove. It's like my favorite little stove. It is from Grail, and I know it's the exact white label version of the BRS stove, but at like 20 some dollars, it is like my go-to stove. My favorite layer that I took, aside from this amazingly beautiful Peruvian sweater that I picked up, is the Vario synthetic jacket from Outdoor Vitals. I think this is the most useful overall across the spectrum of temperatures and conditions that we had, the most useful jacket or a piece of apparel that I had. Now, it wasn't overall warm enough on its own to withstand the temperatures that we were experiencing in the mountains, but I could hike in it, I could sweat in it, I could be in the rain in it, and it just is a very nice synthetic layer. Probably my favorite piece of apparel. It also looks really sharp, so I'm a big fan of this one. That's enough talking from me. I'm going to invite my wife Christie out here, and we're going to talk about some of the things that she really enjoyed and some of the things that she didn't necessarily enjoy. She's bringing the energy, bringing the juice today. We did just get back, like literally, we've only been in our house for like 12 hours.
I'm so tired.
Yeah, we're kind of tired, but we did want to get this done so that we can get this video out today. Well, as you're seeing it now. Let's talk about your sleep.
Sorry.
Christy, come on. Let's talk about the ZenBivy sleep system that you used.
I get cold very easily, and I hate being cold. So
This is true.
This was the first time I've used this setup, and I loved it. I was honestly really impressed with it. The fact that I had a sleep system that kept me so warm, even when our tent was raining on us in the middle of the night. Like the sleeping bag, everything got wet, and I was still toasty warm, no jackets on. Like usually I sleep with 3 jackets on. I would go down to my sun hoodie.
You are a cold sleeper.
I'm a very cold sleeper.
And yet you were...
I was toasty warm. Yeah. I would start in some jackets, and then within an hour, I'm like, get them off. And I felt so comfortable the whole time, and I was really grateful for that. So this sleep system, I'm like, I know they're expensive, but they're definitely something that I probably will not go without.
Yeah. And you roll around a lot?
I do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this sleep system also is not in a mummy bag, so it's very free. I like to, women, I don't know. I like to, sleep with my, leg up by my side and all the things. So
yeah. I don't think you would have done well in the mummy bag that I had. I think you would have been warm enough, but I don't think you would have felt that just, freedom of movement and all of the other things that you truly value. And did you like this pillow?
Oh, I use that a lot.
Yeah,
So that actually came in handy for me on even more than just sleeping this trip because of my back injury. So on the plane, in cars, on bus rides, all of the above, being able to use this to use as lumbar support or whatever. I even just loved sleeping on it.
This was kind of almost like a teddy bear. You just always had this. You're just because anytime you needed to sit down, you were ready to use this thing.
Yes.
You've heard me talk about the ZenBivy sleep system before. It is honestly, at $1,000, it obviously better be good, but it's just the best thing out there. And this was your first time using it, and you came away basically having the same opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. These we just picked up at REI the day before the trip.
The day before. I have a hard time finding pants that are long enough for me because I'm tall.
Yeah.
I think that's my only gripe is that every pair of pants that I find just aren't long enough for me.
These are Outdoor Voices, which you can get at REI. I think they were Like
80? No,
they were over 100, I
they were
think.
over 100, 110.
The main thing is that there are 3 different ways you can wear the pants.
Yeah.
You can wear them as capris, pants, capris, and shorts. We were in quite a bit of rain without rain pants.
Yeah.
And these got wet.
They dried so fast.
But they dried
It
fast.
was cold and it was wet. And I think after it stopped raining hard, so even though it was still sprinkling, they dried really fast. And I, again, grateful for that because I get cold very easily. I thought they were cute.
They looked normally like the zip-off hiking pants don't look good, men's or women's. They looked great.
I liked them.
I liked hiking behind her. What? This is the rain jacket. This is my rain jacket.
Mine's just a different color.
You also had some things you didn't really love about this.
Especially when it's raining and cold. Not having pockets. I understand what they did. I still don't understand what they did.
Yeah. So I think
I get it, but I don't get it.
the intent is to not have a vulnerability where water's going to kind of pool up in this part.
I mean, they already have this pocket up here. I don't understand the difference, honestly.
Yeah.
Because if they already have this beautiful
waterproof
resistant
proof zipper.
like, why not do it down here? So I like putting my hands in my rain jacket pockets. Personally, when I'm hiking and it's raining, I just put them in my pockets. They stay warm. They stay dry. And I couldn't do that. As a rain jacket, it worked great. But I think there were just a couple features that they tried to do that weren't quite my favorite thing.
I think the rain jacket, it did the core job that it has to do is keep you dry. Mm-hmm. It did that. But when you're wearing it, there is just that inevitable, like, where do you put your hands? Some of those functionality pieces that I also missed.
Yeah.
I really wanted to have the ability to put my hands in my pockets on those cold, wet, rainy passes that we were hiking over. Are there any other pieces of gear that you used that you want to talk about?
Well, I loved the Outdoor Vitals midweight jacket.
Oh, yeah.
That thing is amazing. I really like this.
I think that's a consensus big-time win from both of us. Mm-hmm. We both loved the Vario. The hiking up and over passes, and you're not going to sweat it out.
The material, it's super comfortable. It's lightweight, but it's warm. Yeah, it's great. I don't know. I had no complaints about it. It felt like one of the things I was just like, yeah. There's not really any, specific things I want to say about it, but it was just that I just loved it.
Okay, and then the last opinion that I wanted your opinion on is the backpack that you used. This is the Skyline 30 pack, also from Outdoor Vitals.
As someone who is recovering from a back injury, I don't think this was quite what I should have taken, especially with where the injury was and how it distributed the weight, because there's no way for it to also distribute weight to your hips. So it's just kind of always
Yeah.
pulling you back and putting the weight all on the shoulders. I am a little sad that they didn't have adjuster straps for the top here because it felt like it kept wanting to pull backwards like this instead of sit nicely up on the shoulder. So if they would have had an adjustment strap from here to here, just like a backpack, like a backpacking backpack would, I feel like it would have just given it that little extra oomph that I think I wanted.
A lot of it was my fault. I chose this backpack for you, and I think that I should have chosen a different backpack for you. The main ways to adjust this pack are here.
Yep.
We both really thought that we wanted something up in the load lifters. But either way, I think having a pack that really comes down onto your hips.
And honestly, and it's a little hard for me to be less biased in certain ways on this because of my back injury. So I am still recovering. I have, some imbalances in my back that are trying to rebalance. So I'm sure, if I was healthier, maybe my back muscles would have appreciated it better. But at this stage in where I'm at, it felt like it just put too much pressure in on the upper part of my back.
And I think just purely design, it is for people who are going to be doing more long distance running backpacking. Mm-hmm. And that's not what we were doing.
Right.
So it wasn't really exactly the right choice on our part / my part. I think that's all my grilling I had for you.
You grilled me?
Lightly.
Underdone.
Underdone? Underdone grilling. That's a barbecue joke. Nice.
Thanks.
I will shoo you away, and I'm going to do my wrap-up. Thanks for
Bye.
Christie for joining. She's gone. She's still here. Thanks so much for watching.
No, I didn't notice. I had something in my teeth the whole time.
Forgive Christie if she had anything in her teeth. Now she's feeling self-conscious, but I think she did great, and I thought she looked amazing. All right, so that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please hit me up. I'll try to answer as many as I can. And this video got a little long-winded, so I won't be addressing to some of the other topics on the International Trek and the pointers and tips, because we'll just have to save that for another video. All right, I'm Eric Hansen. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later, everybody.